They said they were just trying to.
Yeah, they need to check in. Hey guys, TJ. You guys have
Why are you pushing me?
Someone's filming.
Oh.
He's coming. Katie's just finished it. That crap at 5:30, so we went to get her.
No, somewhere.
It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 1996 Ames High School football banquet. And to begin this evening, we'll have our invocation from Mark Charter.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this successful season you've allowed us to enjoy so far. We have many things to be thankful for. The support of our parents, cheerleaders, the best coaching staff in all of Iowa. We also thank you that we have made it so far all this way through the season without injuries. And we pray that we can have a successful evening tonight and a good meal. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
The first order of business will be how we're going to eat. The instructions that I read. Your attention, please. In light of the time and the importance of tomorrow evening, I think it's important that we get started so that we can complete our festivities tonight, honor appropriately the people that we are here to honor, and then get on with business tomorrow evening. If that does not occur, please blame me. He's the undefeated one. We do have several guests we'd like to recognize at this time. First of all, our superintendent of schools, Nick Johns, is here. Deputy Superintendent of Schools and former Ames High Principal, Dr. Ralph Farrar, and his wife, Jo. Former Associate Principal, Bill Ripp, and his wife, Jane. Former Athletic Director, Ray Smalling, and his wife. I believe that Principal Chuck Octor was here earlier this evening. There are 3 other banquets going on tonight, and he was going to try to make all 4 of them, but he was here at the start. And in the back of the room, I see our Athletic Director, Dave Posgate. We've got 3 team doctors this year. One of them is with us, Dr. Peter Buck. And our other 2 doctors, Dr. Leo Milliman and Dr. Tom Greenwald, had other commitments this evening. From the media, I'm not sure whether anyone from the Ames Tribune, Todd Burris, covered the team most of the year. If Todd is here, or Jeff King. Okay, from radio station KASI, I see Dar Danielson in the back of the room. They've done an outstanding job all year with Jim Amphar and Rich Bellingham, and I don't know if you're going to let Mel in the press box tomorrow night or not, Dar. Don't go away from a good thing, right? Another person that we'd like to introduce at this time and recognize is the team statistician, Ed Schwager. And in the middle of the back of the room are members of the fall cheer squad who also have won a state championship this fall. Girls, would you rise, please? I've been instructed to make 2 very important announcements that relate to the players. First of all, along the north wall players, you are to take a helmet that has your picture on it. If you were not present at Media Day and would like a helmet, you can see one of the parents at the back table, the far back right, and they will get you one. And also for the seniors, you're to meet up here at the stage at the end of the ceremonies for a special gift from the senior parents. The first person I'd like to introduce tonight is a gentleman who's been very active in Ames High School athletics. He's an Ames High grad, was active in several sports while he was in high school, been extremely active in the Ames High Alumni Association. He was a member of the, not the last, because this may be the last, team to go undefeated during the regular season, but from the class of 1958, Jack Smalley.
I'm here representing the last team that was in 57 that went undefeated. I want to congratulate this year's team on their feat and want to offer you some links from our team to your team here, some comparisons, and what we had in common, and then maybe a few of the differences. I played in 57. I was a team member in 56. There is a difference. The last team before that was undefeated was 1950, and there's another representative from that team here tonight too, and Dave Varlam. The last time I saw every Ames High home game and road game during a regular season was 1957, having refereed ever since. And so I really enjoyed just going to ball games this year. And I know some of these parents are going to have withdrawals on Friday nights figuring out what they're going to do when they can't go to a ball game anymore. A little history. The first Ames High football banquet was in 1933, Sheldon Munn Hotel. They started out with cream of tomato soup, and I'm sure you guys would have liked that. For historical reference, I've seen a lot of these banquets. I don't think I've ever seen a plate piled as high as the one by Nathaniel Ginder. You get the record tonight, Nathaniel. Dave Posgate was also a member of the team in 1957. He's here. Obviously, I have a son on this team. There's one other person here who played Ames High football, has a son on the team, Mark Hamilton. I believe that's you. And Drew's on the team, a captain. In 1957, we had a brand new assistant coach come to town to help with the varsity, and I want him to stand up because he's here tonight. Cecil Spatcher, where are you? His grandson is number 4, Brent Fogarty, right? Our starting left tackle on that team was a guy named Dave Wall, who is now Dr. David Wall, who may have well delivered some of you players as babies, or perhaps your younger brothers and sisters. I don't know how long he's been doing that, but I think a lot of you know who Dr. David Wall is. And another person on our team who was our starting left end was Jim Dresser, who taught some of you how to drive up here at Ames High and in driver ed. He was an excellent athletic in Ames High School and letters in 4 sports. Other things we had in common, we thought we'd be good in 1957, but we lost all but two of our starters. I know Paul Payne told me before the year he thought we'd have a great team and a good season. And I said, yeah, but I hope we can find a running back. Well, I think we found a running back, or 2 or 3. We had some common opponents. We also played Roosevelt, Newton, and Marshalltown. 3 of the teams that are in the playoffs this time also were our opponents back then, Roosevelt, Newton, and Sioux City East. We had a good defense. We had pitched 4 shutouts. We also have a all-state lineman. In fact, we had 2 of them made first-team all-state, and I think we'll have 1 or 2 people make first-team all-state this year. We also had a sophomore back that scored a touchdown for us in an important situation. And I think the one we have this year scored a few more than ours did. The most points we ever scored in a ball game was 41, and that's the most points we've scored this year, which was against Roosevelt the other night. But there are some differences, and some of these you probably won't believe. We only played 8 games, and in 1958 they added a 9th game. So from then on, they played a 9-game schedule. There was no playoffs or anything like that. We were ranked 2nd in the state. I forget who was first. We didn't wear leather helmets, and we had plastic helmets. We had a face mask, which had 1 bar, one right across here. No mouth guards. Our players weren't as big then. We had no weight room. No one did any weight training. Can you believe that? We had 2 players that weighed over 200 pounds, and neither one of them started. Today's line averages 220 pounds. Ours averaged about 189. So we weren't near as big. Dave Posgate, where are you? Stand up. Now you got it? Don't sit down. Now you got to think about this one for a little bit here. You got to think about this one. I looked at my senior program, and if you add Dave's weight and my weight together in our senior program, they totaled 306. 306 together. Now, we're not saying what we totaled today, but I think you got one player that weighed more than we did together back then. A couple other important differences. We had some great coaches, Kenny Wells, High Covey, Cecil Thatcher, and Wally Lynn, and for the most part, we called them by their first name. That doesn't happen today. One of the more remarkable things that happened then, before each game, football and basketball too, before each home football game and road game, the starters would go out to the center of the field on the 50-yard line, kneel down on their hands and knees, and recite the Lord's Prayer together. And that, I don't know when that stopped, but believe me, that happened because I was there at least once. One thing we had to contend with in 1957 was the flu epidemic. Half the sophomore schedule was canceled because of the flu. And we seemed to catch it before anybody else did. Went to Waterloo West to play them, beat them 14-0, and gave them all the flu. So those are some of the things that happened 39 years ago. I congratulate you, and hopefully it will not be 39 years ago, from now on when we have another undefeated season. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. When I was going through my notes, I had written this down, and I had inadvertently omitted one introduction I'd like to make at this time. Virtually everybody in this room has been to every Ames High football game at home and away, and I don't think it is until you go on the road that you come to appreciate this particular gentleman. The CIML has a reputation and an edict this year from the Council of Principals to elicit good sportsmanship from not only the players but the fans, and I certainly think that this individual has done an exceptional job in his role at Ames High football games. I'd like to have Bob Heiberger, who's here in another capacity tonight, our public address announcer, please stand to be recognized. Before we go to our next segment in the program, I have a couple of remarks I'd like to make about this year's team. I had the opportunity to speak to them earlier this year prior to the Dowling game, and I don't think it was so much what I said, but what they did on the field that really took place. But Jackie alluded to this a little bit, that this has been a season of several firsts. This is the first time that any Ames High team has gotten to sing the school song 10 times after a game. This is the first unbeaten regular season in nearly 40 years. It's the first time in 75 years that 9 regular season wins have taken place. It's the first time Ames has won the CIML National Conference Championship. It's the first time in over 36 years that Ames High has won a conference championship outright. It's the first time in about 4 years that we've had an assistant coach that's going to be honored at the state playoffs with a statewide award for assistant coaching. Bruce Burton has won the award for this year. Carl Pelzer won it 4 years ago. And this is the first time in Ames High history that a former assistant swimming coach at the high school has gone on to earn his 100th career victory in football. I also want to point out, just so it doesn't get held over my head, congratulations to our junior varsity team this year because they too went undefeated. I think the 1996 football team's success is simply stated in one thing, and that is that the Dream Makers became playmakers this year, and they're one and the same. And they've got a group of coaches that rank second to none in their ability to mold and motivate talent. And with that, I'd like to introduce somebody that's been very prominent in Ames High athletics over the years for a special presentation, former athletic director Ray Smalley.
Thank you, Bud. First, let me congratulate the team. That is one of the things everybody's been striving for many, many years. And this year, talking to the guy the other day, and he says, boy, they got a good team, haven't they? That's the first time they've had a good team in a lot of years, isn't it? I'd like to correct that. Actually, in the last 3 or 4 years, we've had seasons of 8-3, some of those years. Now, that's not to be sneezed at. There are a lot of teams in the state that would be very happy to have an 8-3. My job up here tonight is to introduce the honoree that we have. I'd like to tell you just a little bit about the credentials that young man would have to have before he can win this honor. First place, he should have been, or he was, had to be a football player in Ames High. Well, our honoree this year is football, basketball, track. He put the shot and the discus, and used to run a half mile or a quarter mile or something once in a while. At any rate, those are, you can tell they're good athletes when they do all of those. And then they have to be very successful in their job. Well, this honoree is one of the first-class dentists in the state of Iowa at Eagle Grove. Very fine dentist. He's telling me today, and I dread the thought, he's a specialist, as we have one sitting over there, in root canal business. Now, he also, in order to win this honor, he's supposed to be handsome. Now, we can overlook that one. If it happens that he marries a beautiful girl from Ames High, and he did just that. The reason I know for sure, that his wife was named Marble Huff, and she was in my homeroom. I was very proud of her. Marble, you stand up. You know, she graduated about 1952. That is always one of the things about a man. If he's a success, he's usually got a good wife somewhere around there. Now, I know I've got a few people here would be a little disappointed if I did not tell them at least one story. And others would not be disappointed. But I'll tell you one story. I always have a couple just in case some speaker ahead of me tells the same story. But I want to tell you one. It seems that Charter and Burroughs and Dadu were marooned on an island somewhere. And they've no chance of getting saved at all until a bottle washed up ashore. And in that bottle, a genie popped out. And it said, I can give each of you one wish. And as soon as you give me that wish, it will take place right away. So the first one he asked was, Charter, what would you like? Well, the way he goes out after those passes sometimes, he's a little bit of a gambler. He said, I'd like to go to Las Vegas. Bingo, he was hired immediately. And the second guy was Burroughs. Said, what would you like? He said, remember now, you only get one wish. That'll be granted immediately. Well, he said, I would like to be in Hawaii, surrounded by the Ames High cheerleaders who were state champions this year. Immediately, he was in Hawaii, had all those beautiful girls, and they were good, and we're real proud of them. And the third guy says, okay, Dado, put your wish. Dado says, I sure miss those guys. I wish they were back here. Upon request someday, I'll tell you the other one. Now it's time you got to get ready for a game tomorrow night, and we wish you a lot of luck. I would like to present the award winner. It's a man that was football, basketball, track, and an exceptionally good student. I know Dado likes those people that are good students. That's one of the reasons we've got good parents, good students in this town. That's one of the reasons we have a good football team. I think there's a high correlation between grade point and athletic ability. I've always felt that way. This man really qualifies. Exceptionally fine young man. Although he's a young man, he graduated in 1952. And we're very proud today to introduce Dave Varlin. Dave, would you? This is a little token that Dad handed to me, and I'll hand it to you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you very much, and I too want to congratulate this Ames High team. I live in Eagle Grove, and we suffered through an 0-8 season this year. And, yeah, I really felt bad. We had some good kids, but we had a tough schedule, and we're going to be better in a few years. But I think we were 50 pointed about 4 or 5 games out of those 8. So it was really, really too bad, and it really excites me to be here with all you undefeated team members. It's been 45 years since I've been to an Ames High football banquet, and things have changed. And I was just going to mention a few of the differences. Ray kind of beat me to it. Jack did, I mean. We too had no weights. We had no face masks. We didn't even have a single bar. No mouth guards, and I don't know why we didn't lose a lot more teeth. I don't remember anybody doing it. But as a dentist, that kind of gets to me a little bit. Also, football at Ames High, that in 1950 and 51, that was really the only game at Ames High School. We had no women athletics. We had no cross country. We had no wrestling, no swimming, and no baseball. So the excitement and the student spirit was really kind of centered toward football. It was a great time to be a football player, but not having all those other sports wasn't good either. I'm not saying that. It was a little different in the way we traveled, too. Ames High School didn't have any school buses in those days, and I don't know if they do now, but my wife, Marvel, lived way out in the country on top of Hollow Road. And really, it was in the Gilbert School District, and her father paid tuition so she could go to Ames High School. And
Best year of my life.
yeah, she had 1 year at Ames High School, her senior year. We traveled on Greyhound buses, charter buses. We had a bus driver. We had big seats that reclined. We had the white linen headrest cover. And I thought we were pretty classy. And also something that maybe wasn't in the budget, when we would go to Mason City, for example, we would arrive at about 5 o'clock. We'd go to the Green Mill restaurant, have a pregame meal, and then play our game and come back, and we'd have a large meal before we left for Ames. And I doubt that's in the budget anymore. It isn't in our town. I can remember in 51, or in 1950, when we had the undefeated team, Jack talked about the Ames team of 57 averaging in the line about 180 pounds. I think our average that year when we were undefeated was about 160 pounds. And we were up in Mason City at that pregame meal, and we were looking at the Mason City Globe-Gazette, and it had stated in the paper that they thought that the large Mason City line, led by All-Stater Socrates Papa John, would toy with Ames's peanut line. I didn't play in the line, but guess what? I think we beat them by 30-some points that night. And High Covey was a master at developing a good line, no matter what the size. And you better go out for track if you played for him, too. The other thing that I really remember about Ames High School football was the wonderful coaches we had. Ken Wells, High Covey, Ron Norman, also my basketball coach, and Ray Smalling. Ray was our sophomore coach. And another man I remember, well, first of all, these coaches were really role models for us, and I don't know if they knew it at the time, but we knew what they expected out of us, and we tried to not disappoint them, either on the field or off. But they were wonderful people, and I remember the good contact I had with them, and they kind of set the standard for coaches and programs that in my mind, that I always judged the ones up in Eagle Grove by. and they were top-notch people. Another one that really influenced me was a guy named Jim Walters. He was a dentist in Ames, and he used to ride the sophomore bus with us. He's a friend of Ray's, and I got to know him real well, and he kind of influenced me into the vocation I chose and helped me get into dental school and helped me find a location when I got out. And he was my mentor, and I think I met him really through Ames High football. What else did we take with us from Ames High football? The same thing that most kids get out of football. I think we learned the perseverance. We learned to stick to things, and that's a lesson that carries on in life for all of us. We also learned how to set goals and what we had to do to achieve them. We also had a whole lot of fun. I think that was the main thing I got out of it. And it also gave us a lot of pride and self-confidence for later in life, and that served us all well. And I still, when I watch the Friday night highlights of Iowa football, and I see the Ames High highlights, and I see the big defensive stops or the ball going up and down the field, I still feel that pride and that loyalty. And I'm real proud to have been once a member of an Ames High football team. Marvel and I, we both love Ames High School. This is where I met my wife. I can't wait to go to our class reunions. I haven't missed any. We live close enough where we can come to Ames fairly often, and we're anxious to get the Ames High newsletter. We refer a lot to the alumni directory that Jack Smalling put together, and we just have a lot of wonderful memories. And I would just like to say I wish you all the very best tomorrow night. I may have to drive down for that game. My wife doesn't know that yet, but I think I might. And I bring a state championship back to Ames. Good luck. Next individual on our program will be the junior spokesman, David Knapp.
I think there's two key things that everybody looks for when you're looking forward to football season. First, you want to know if your team's going to have potential to play well. I think coming into this season, everybody felt like we had a lot of potential to be a good team. But the other thing that you worry about is how well your classes will mix together. It's the first time that the junior class has played with another class, and I think we really got along well this year. I'd like to thank the senior class for taking us under their wing, showing us everything we needed to know about getting ready for playing games Friday nights. Also, I'd like to thank the coaches for getting us ready to play. They put in a lot of time, and a lot of the most of any coaching staff around the state, and that really paid off for us. We'd also like to thank the trainers. They do a great job keeping everybody ready to play Friday night, Monday night in this case. And I guess that's it. Looking forward to next year. Thanks.
David alluded to it, that behind every good football team is some outstanding leadership, and certainly the seniors this year have provided that. And we're now going to hear from the senior captains, John Crawford, James Burrow, Drew Hamilton, and Scott Steverman.
You know, about 4 years ago, we were all freshmen, and all the seniors were freshmen. We were sitting before one practice, and Coach Dado came to talk to us, and we weren't having the most successful year. That year we went 0-9. And Coach Dado came up and he told us one thing. He goes, he said, I guarantee you that when you guys are varsity, you guys will go to the playoffs. And I think a lot of us were sort of sitting there going, well, yeah, you know, we didn't know how good of a fortune teller he really was. But I'm glad that after all our hard work has paid off and we finally come together and we've made it to the playoffs. We got to keep going though.
Coming into this season, I admit that I was a little worried. I knew that because of last year, we had a lot of high expectations. But in the first few weeks of practice, we really came together as a team. And after our first game at Valley, I knew that we could fulfill the expectations and become the type of team that each and every one of us wanted to become. And now at 10-0, we have been part of a season that will always be in history and never be forgotten in our lifetimes.
As we sit here tonight and we look back on the great season we've had, there's one thing we do have to remember. Tomorrow night, we have the toughest, most important game of our career to play, and we just need to keep that fact in mind as we look back on this great season. But for now, Jamie Burrow and I went shopping today, and we all got the coaches some presents. So we'd like to hand those out now. We'd like to start with Coach Kruzman. This Halloween, Coach Kruzman was looking for something for his Halloween costume, and we didn't realize that he'd already found it, but
Just so you know, he was going to be the Jolly Green Giant.
if you ever need some backup tights, we got him a pair here.
Coach Kuzman, can you come forward?
Next we have Coach Vertinen, and every day in practice this year, the defensive line had their own special flat football that we would use for drills and stuff, and it was looking a little worse for the wear at the end of the season, so we found him this new ball. It's not quite flat enough yet, but all the senior defensive linemen signed it for him, so hopefully it'll mean a lot to him.
All right, now after my Nebraska Cornhuskers played Arizona State this year, they fell a little short at the end. Coach Johnson always felt the need to wear different Arizona State paraphernalia, and he would come up to me and give me a little slack about going to Nebraska after that. And I don't know if he was doing that just because that's the only sweatshirt he has, or but I got you something so you have a good team here.
Well, one day we were, stretching. We were having a good stretch before practice. And we started our calisthenics, and Joe Simmons and I happened to be passing Coach Pelzer at the perfect time. And we got to hear a very nice example of one of the very popular songs today. And I'd like Joe to help me out with this one. Hey, Bacareta. Coach Pelzer, we got him the single Macarena. I also wanted to present Coach Burrow with his award. And first, we got him this balloon for his very seldom days when he's not, the happiest before practice. So we thought, take a look at this and be happy before often when we're in defensive meetings, Coach Burrow gives us some words of advice to the linebackers, and we got him a shirt with those words on it. It's, shut up and play football. And now we have Coach Dado. Oh, Coach
Well, actually, we have Coach Downs. Scott started looking back at our freshman season. We were 0-9, and our head coach, Coach Downs, often got frustrated with us. And, whenever we showed a lack of concentration, he would tell us to run to the tree, which was up on the varsity field, and it was a long ways. We were hoping he could plant this one a little closer to the
And now we have Coach Dado. As most of you know, Coach Dado used to have a little bit of a different haircut. And, he changed that before last season, and we've seen him have a little more success after that. But we want him to know that we really like his hair now, but if he ever wants to go back to that, we got him this.
We have something else for Coach Dado. As you know, this season he achieved a milestone for 100 career victories, and we got him this little plaque to commemorate this. Congratulations, Coach.
We'd like to thank everyone who helped contribute to our team's success this year. First of all, we'd like to thank the coaches for preparing us each week, and then the cheerleaders and the fans for all their support, and especially the cheerleaders, congratulations on winning state. I'd like a round of applause. Thank you to the trainers and team doctors for keeping us healthy. Special thanks to Kent Kaufman, Dr. Greenwald, Dr. Buck, and Dr. Bellman. We'd like to thank Andrew Brown. Could you please stand up? He provided Gatorade for us after every practice. Cody Bergduff, our water boy. Cody. The band for that neat little snake dance they do during our games. The freshman coaches for scouting the opponent for the next upcoming week. And David Knapp, our junior spokesman. And most of all, we'd like to thank our parents for always being there for us, even after the first Roosevelt game.
We've got one more special award tonight for someone very special to Ames High football. He's donated a lot of his time and a lot of his effort, and so we got him something very special this year. Emmett, could you come up here?
No.
Close for a second. We'd like to award Emmett Stevemer with this very special trophy. It's an Oscar for filmmaking. Just before we came up here tonight, I was presented with this big box of candy bars for the junior class. And they can pick these up later, and it says, Ames High Little Cyclone Football, how sweet it is, 9N. You get a 0 bar with it, folks. That's
That's the sophomores too, just so you know.
yeah.
If you follow along in your program, you know that the next person is the one gentleman in Ames that took his television show this fall from public access to the Ames High Stadium with tremendous amount of success. Our own Coach Kirk Dadow. I'd like to start by thanking whoever picked that picture of me for the that is really great. I wondered if I could have the negative. I want to do something special with it. I have some more people to recognize, and we owe a lot to a lot of different people. Unfortunately, we were able to thank a lot of them here tonight, but we've had just stupendous representation from our sport reps and all year long providing the food after games and just a million things that they do. I want Paul and Carol Payne and Al and Susan Knapp to stand and get a lot of applause. Another really special person that a lot of you don't know because she's new this year, but we have a new athletic secretary who's done a ton of work for me and for the entire Ames High football program. Sitting in the back is Chris Berger. I'd like for her to stand. We have a fantastic training and doctor arrangement here at Ames High School, second to none. And we have professionals out on the field with us for every practice. We have doctors with us at every game. And you can't believe what a comfort that is. We play a pretty rough and a dangerous sport, and to get this kind of cooperation from Dr. Buck and his colleagues at McFarland, and then from our super training staff. And I want Kent Kaufman and Lonnie Schaefer and Heather Rissy to stand and be recognized. I'm just going to acknowledge my coaches. You've already met them already as they picked up their awards, but several years ago I was in Minneapolis and Lou Holtz was a featured speaker talking to a lot of head coaches, and I never forgot what he told us. He said, if you want to build a successful football program, surround yourself with assistant coaches who can't stand losing. And boy, I tell you, I have surrounded myself with 6 people who really can't stand losing. And when you have people like that around you, you know, they do what's necessary to win. And every one of these guys, I'm just really proud to be associated with. And for me to get these awards and everything for our season is really not just, because so much of the credit for this year goes to those people. But I just want one time, I'd like for my assistant coaches and their wives, or in Brian's case, his very good friend, to stand and be recognized. Do I need to speak into the microphone?
Yeah.
I'll do it. I want to start recognizing our players for the various things that have happened, and as always, when we're in the playoffs, we need some extra help at this time of the year. We bring up some sophomores to help us, and this year we brought up 10, and I just tell you, this is some of the future stars here at Ames High School. We've been very, very impressed. Not only are they going to play for us in the near future, but they're going to play very well in the near future. I'd like for all 10 of them to stand as I call their names, and then we'll recognize them with some applause at the end. Eric Disler, Jeff Happy, remain standing please. Jeff Happy, Justin Knapp, Seth Shepard, John Vestman, Randy Pyle, Troy Devons, Devin Wetzel, Brad Lawler, Nate Ginder. There's some future stars at Ames High School right there. We have some things that we're going to be presenting to our players, but it's hard to do it at this particular time. First of all, we have special letters that we're going to order here shortly. And these are going to be different than the normal letters because they're going to at least say CIML Conference Champions. They may say something else, but they're going to at least say that. And we'll order those at the end of the season. Everybody will hear when those are in. We also have certificates, playoff certificates for everybody who's with us in the playoffs. And we also have medals that will be given to us. Those things are distributed when you finally lose. So we're hoping that's going to be a couple of weeks away. Every year we have a group of juniors who are out and don't have sufficient playing time to get actual letters. We want to recognize those people at this time. If I can have my assistant, Bruce, you and Carl, if you'll come up. As I said, we have specific requirements to get a letter at Ames High School. This is different than a lot of other schools. But we have specific requirements. Every year we have a group of people who don't have quite enough playing time to win a letter. Every year from this group we have a number of starters. A number of our starters, first-class players this year, were among this group last year. The same thing will happen. It's hard when you have a squad of 72 to get enough playing time to actually earn a varsity letter. I want these people, as I call their name, to come forward and pick up your certificate from one of the coaches here. Gary Deaches, Zach Tevitat, Brent Fogarty, Ryan Beck, Jake Bergduff, David Cheney, Micah Martinez, John Sedgwick, Kirk Nessett, Nick Sampson, Scott Cameron, A.J. Wilson, David Chenevere, Richard Chambers, Mike Meyer, Christoph Nedepil, Nick Flug, Mark Potter, Travis Sassman, Jason Ernessy, You're going to find a lot of those people are first-line players, as I said, and do a great job for us next year. Those are our junior non-letter winners. We have 3 sophomores up who stayed with us the entire year. All 3 of them lettered. I'd like for those 3 people to come forward. Have Ryan Klein, Aaron Greving, and Nick Rayfeld. Those are our sophomore letter winners. Our junior letter winners, Sean Manat, Lucas Deerdorf, Kurt Van Maren, Adam Wagner, Josh Greenlee, Jeff Ruski, Joe Mowers, Adam Biskner, Jim Martin, Jim Sellers, Chris Gardner, James Grant, Robbie Smalling, Nick Salisbury, David Knapp, David Tays, Mike Downs. Those are our junior letter winners. Our seniors football team of 1996, I'd like for each of those to come forward. Jake Hansen, Andy Masent, Scott Stevermer, A.J. Wilson, DJ Bergduff, Clint Bells, Tyler Frazier, Robbie Heiberger, Chris Marty, Dan Johnson, Mark Charter, Zach Rhodes, John Crawford, Dan Janello, Brad Payne, Drew Hamilton, Jace Woodley, Jake Bills, Eric Ogie, Aaron Schropp, Mike Kadolf, Ben Brown, Joe Simmons, Andrew Hoiberg, Dusty Wetzel, Matt Shimkus, James Burrow. That's our football senior class team of 1996. After each victory, the coaching staff awards Player of the Week awards. And we give one for our Player of the Week on offense and one for the Player of the Week on defense. And I'd like to announce those at this time and have them each come forward and pick up the little plaques that we have for them. It was real necessary for us to get off to a great start down with a very tough team at Valley, and helping us do that on offense, our Player of the Week was Aaron Greving. On defense, James Burrow. We followed that up with another road win at Fort Dodge. On offense, Player of the Week was James Grant. On defense, Jake Hansen. Our first home game was against Mason City. Helping us to get a great start at home, our offensive player was Mark Charter, our defensive player Drew Hamilton. Good old Bobcat rivalry, our second home game against Marshalltown. Our offensive player was James Burrow, our defensive player John Crawford. We had a tough night down at Ankeny, but we survived. It was a tough night. Our offensive player was Zach Rhodes and our defensive player Nick Salisbury. One of the most exciting, I'm sure, for you people, games to watch. What a great high school football game this year, the Dowling game. Our offensive player was Scott Stevermer, our defensive player Dusty Wetzel. Had another interesting night, the one over at Newton, and it's a great win for Ames High School. And our offensive player over there was David Knapp, our defensive player Andrew Hoiberg. While David's working his way down here, we had a little slip up. Fortunately, it didn't cost us against Roosevelt. No players were designated for our home Roosevelt game. At Urbandale, we went down, had to clinch our conference championship, and the offensive player down there was Nick Rayfelt, our defensive player James Burrow. For our Roosevelt game, and this was just last Wednesday, so the plaques are not ready, but I do want these people to stand up. Our offensive player who really bailed us out of a tight situation was A.J. Wilson, our defensive player Lucas Deerdorf. If they just stand. Every year, 8 tough guys get together and start voting on all conference, and it doesn't make any difference whether you win a bunch of games or lose a bunch of games. You never get enough players on the all-conference team, and that's what happened to us this year. We have a lot of deserving players who didn't make an all-conference team, but that's the way it goes. Everybody there wants to represent his squad and to have his players chosen, and I don't blame them for that, but it gets to be kind of a hairy night before it's done. We did have 4 people selected to the all-conference honorable mention team. Want them to come forward and get their certificates. Offensive guard, James Grant. Defensive tackle, Nick Salisbury. Defensive end, Dusty Wetzel. And fullback, Zach Rhodes. Selected to the second team offense was David Knapp. The second team defensive players, Drew Hamilton. Defensive tackle, nose guard, a linebacker, John Crawford, and defensive back, Clint Bells. We had 7 players who were chosen to the first all-conference team, and that was the most of any team, but still, like I say, we not well enough represented, in my opinion. We have a lot of people who belong on this first team who are better than people who were selected. We actually had 2 sophomores who were picked to the first team. I got a lot of real harsh looks about that, I'll tell you, but first team running back, Aaron Greving, first team guard, Nick Rayfelt.
Defensive line selection, first team defensive line, Andrew Hoiberg. First team offensive end, Mark Charter. Ames High had 3 unanimous selections. Every coach voted for these players, and which is really amazing, trying to get them to agree unanimously on anything. But this was great because all 3 of these are unanimous choices for certain. But we all-conference quarterback Scott Stevermer, all-conference linebacker James Burrow, all-conference defensive back Jake Hansen. Every year the squad votes on year-end awards and trying to pick our valuable players in different areas and people who have really helped us. And it's tough when you still have this part of the season left, and we hope there are still quite a bit of our season left. But at any rate, these are important awards because they're voted on by your teammates. And it's one thing to get a group of coaches, but when your teammates agree that you are most valuable, I think that's one of the highest tributes that you can get. The squad votes on these. I want to bring them up one at a time. Our most valuable offensive lineman, according to the squad, David Knapp. While David's coming up, I'll tell you that selecting an all-conference, our most valuable defensive lineman was really tough. This was very close voting. We have a lot of guys who could be our most valuable defensive lineman, but a guy who just knows through several other outstanding people to win our most valuable defensive lineman, Drew Hamilton. Our most valuable offensive back is going to be around for a couple of more years, Aaron Grebbing. Coach Ferdinand asked me, have we ever had a sophomore win one of these team awards? No, I don't believe we have, so that's good. Our most valuable defensive back or linebacker, James Burrow. There are a couple of awards that are special, I think, because, these are the ones that, if I had to pick my favorite award, it would be this next one, our most valuable non-starter. Because, you have to have people who don't start, who don't get all of the minutes, who are ready to play and come out and play well for you. Depth is just more and more important on any football team, and particularly it's been important. We have a lot of people who could have won this, but our most valuable non-starter this year was Chris Marty. We give an award that we call the most courageous Cyclone, and we try to define courage, and we know it comes in all different assorted flavors and sizes and all of that. And so we let the squad sort of sort this all out and come up with a person. But this year we had pretty much agreement. This person, I'll give you a little hint, was probably the most exciting person to watch on a kickoff team. Kind of a human missile here coming down the field. Number 54, watch him on the kickoffs, Jim Martin. Our most valuable player is a great award to get, of course, is the person in your teammates' eyes that we could do, without the least. I do have just a few regrets about this particular choice in that he's going to be a Nebraska Husker. I'd rather that he was an Iowa State Cyclone, but James Burrow. That concludes our awards. I just want to say a couple of other things here. I'm going to miss a lot of things with this team. Obviously, this is a team that you can get real attached to. I like this team a lot. I'm going to miss a lot of things. I'm going to miss my Sunday morning breakfast with the captains this year especially. It's been a great group to sit down at the Village Inn and have breakfast with. And I'm going to miss watching one of the members have chicken fried steak and eggs with hash browns and toast, and then have a complete order of French toast, and then have a piece of pie. And when you're my age, you really miss being able to eat like that. But it was a great group to have Sunday morning breakfast with, and they provided just a super leadership for us all year long. I'm going to really miss picking up films at the Stevermer's house about 1:30 in the morning, because they were always up, and I could sit over there with them, and it's just a wonderful family, as you all know, and talking with them about what's happened. And fortunately, we had a lot of really fun talks, and so far only 3 of those other kind. I just want to conclude by saying, you know, that Scott told you a little bit of something about them as freshmen, and I remember another thing. 30 of them showed up in camp as freshmen. That's the most we'd ever had by far. I couldn't believe that 30 freshmen came to our football camp. And at the end of that time, you know, I gave them some special recognition, and coaches hate to say things like this. I said, this is the best looking group of freshmen that we have ever had in our Ames High football camp. And then, as he said, they went out and didn't exactly win a whole lot. And I'm sure there were times when they wondered just what kind of a judge of talent is this guy. But I went over and talked to him, as Scott said, halfway through the season, because I could see they were getting a little discouraged. And I said, you know, don't worry, we're going to have a lot of great times out on the football field at Ames High School. And this has been a great year, and I just really want to thank the senior class for what they've done and for coming through and giving us a great year.
And now for the benediction, Matt Shimkus.
Please bow your heads.
Lord, we just want to thank you for all you've done for us, because we have so much to be thankful for. We especially want to thank you for our parents and family because of all the support, encouragement, and patience they've given us through this football season and also in our lives. We thank you for them and their continual support during our freshman season when we were 0-9, and also for their praise during this season in which we are accomplishing so much. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us to have the best coaching staff in Iowa. I think we'd all like to thank them for the extra time and numerous hours that they've put in watching and analyzing films and discussing game plans. We know that all that extra effort doesn't go noticed many times, and we thank them for that. Lord, we also thank you for the leadership of Scott, John, Jamie, and Drew, and how they continually demonstrated that leadership on and off the field. We also thank you for the togetherness on this team and how we all work together to accomplish our goals. We believe that this has become one of the biggest factors in our success during this season. We also thank you for the training staff and all the time they've put in taping, icing, and getting us ready for games and practices. We also thank you for Kent and all the time he spent coming in early before Saturday morning practices and staying late after the games. We also thank you for Dr. Buck, Dr. Millman, and Dr. Greenwald, and all the time they put in on the sidelines helping the guys that got injured. We also thank you, Lord, for the cheerleaders and for the great set of lungs they each have for yelling and getting the crowd more into the game. We also thank you for their continual enthusiasm and support. We thank you for everyone and pray you go before us tomorrow night, protect both teams from injuries, and help every Ames guy out there to play his heart out. We thank you for all we have accomplished so far this season and also for what's to come. We give this to you in your name. Amen.
A couple of closing comments. Speaking on behalf of the administration of Ames High School, I want everyone here to know exactly how proud we are of the entire football program, which not only includes the coaches and players, managers, and cheerleaders, but certainly the parents and the community. I do not believe that in the state of Iowa, anybody deserves to be called number one in spirit and sportsmanship and the way they conduct themselves on the field and in the stands than this community. Gentlemen, be sure to pick up your helmets on the wall, and seniors, you need to come up here and meet with your parents for a special gift. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention.